guys, I hope you're having a great day. I am getting ready to pot some Greenovia up, and I'm going to go ahead and put the camera down here so we can get started. Now, I had all of these guys in a pot last year. During the summer, it was actually spring when I got them, and they were all dormant. And if you don't know about Greenovia, they close up like a little egg, and it's super cool. Everything closes when they're dormant, and then they open up when they are awake and in their active growing phase. And so they were in this lovely little pot, and once they started all opening up, because I didn't know how big any of them were going to be, they started overlapping each other and covering each other up and just being a mess. And so I pulled them all out, put them all in their own little pots, and waited until they all opened up. And they've been open up for a while, but I just have had a lot of other things that were priorities, and haven't potted them up yet. But it is time. These guys are not getting nearly enough water in these tiny little terracotta pots. These guys are in the Aeonium family, and they like more water. And so it is just time to get them in a happier place. These guys didn't have super great root systems either, so I'm hoping that has improved. You can see there's some little pieces of paper that was in the bottom of the pots, but you can see all the, I hope, all the white roots. Now for this guy, I'm not going to bust up his root cluster at all. He's just going to go plant it. Now, for these down lower leaves, like I said, they do, sorry about that, they do close up, so the leaves they don't just fall off, they do close up and then open back up. But there's a couple bottom leaves under here which are really hard to show, that are just too far gone. They got too dry, so I'm just going to remove those really quick before I plant them. And then a couple I'm just going to trim the little tips off, because I don't know if the leaf will survive or not, but if it wants to, I would like to let it survive if it can. So I'm just trimming those a little bit and going to set this guy aside. This guy's another one. Great white healthy root ball here. Really fine. Really fine roots here. Can't tell if it's focusing or not, but this guy has one old leaf that looks like it needs to come off, and that's all. This guy had a sad accident. The cats knocked him off and broke and banged a bunch of his leaves, so he's got a little bit of damage, but that's okay. We still love him. Have to say nice things to my plants when I talk about their owies. But the kitties did get a tongue lashing from Mom for knocking this beauty off, because it was just perfect before they knocked it off, which is sad. One leaf I'm going to remove, and the rest of these I am going to leave intact. And I'm just setting them aside so that they're all ready to pot up easily, and then I'll do that. If I have to pull much at all, I really don't. I take something and gently go around like this and just gently loosen it until I can feel it start to come out, because I really don't want to harm the roots on these guys at all. It's got a nice root cluster, really fine, but that's just good. No leaves on that one that need to be removed. This little guy. Look at the mold on the outside of this plant. I've been watering these from the bottom because there's pretty much no room to water them on the top, and they just like that better. But this was an old pot that I found. I haven't seen these types sold anywhere recently. It has the ridges on it, as you can see, but obviously it had something on it from the nursery that I bought it, which is just fine. Most molds like this aren't harmful to your plants at all, but I will soak this in some hydrogen peroxide before I plant anything else in it, just to be safe. All right, we got a few little shriveled leaves here that I'm gonna just gently take off. They're all dried and they just come off really easily. And some die back from the outsides as normal. Of course, all of the leaves can't stay healthy forever, but as a whole, the plant doesn't die back. There's this one. Oops. This guy is really stuck. This pot has some cracks, and I think and it has a very, very tiny hole. As you can see, this is another older clay pot that's not really new. Yeah, you hear that snap? That is what we don't want to hear. That is the sound of a leaf breaking. But this guy is just really attached in here. Good gracious. Alrighty. I'm gonna bang this. Since you can't see what I'm doing, I am banging the bottom of this under the table just to gently loosen it. So I'm not putting any pressure on the leaves. I'm just holding the pot and banging it like this on the table with my hand gently underneath, so that if and when it falls out, there we go, it'll come out. This guy has a lot of roots. A little cocoon, a little fuzzy cocoon of roots there. He's ready for a bigger pot and some friends. And this little cluster, I love these guys. I'm blanking out on the specific name of these guys right this moment, but I just think they are adorable, and the way they make the clusters and stuff is even better. Nice root cluster, lovely little plant there. All right, now pardon me for just a second while I move these and get our pot that we're going to go in. I have a really long pot here, as you can see. This is just a cup that I had sitting in it. It's just a really long metal pot. It doesn't have drainage holes in it, but the metal is put together in such a way that the water can still run out through the cracks and the corners. So it does have some drainage, but I would prefer them to be in this lovely little clay pot. So we're gonna try that. If they won't fit, then we'll move on to the other one. And I am just gonna clean off my table right into this pot. All the grit that has fallen off. Alrighty. I've got several containers here that I'm using up soil from for this guy. They haven't had a bunch of stuff planted in them, but it's just little pieces and parts that I've been accumulating. It's a mixture of coconut husk, pumice, sand, vermiculite. This one has a little bit of bark in it. Yeah. It's just a nice loose, oops, and I just pulled, I a lot of times put just a little bit of moss down at the bottom with a drainage hole just to keep everything from going out. But then in my mixing glee, I stirred it all up. These guys like a loose mix, but like I said, they do like more water than a lot of succulents, a little bit more anyways. And so I don't go pure pumice or anything like that. I give them a little bit more of a potting medium type, potting soil type feel. It's just really heavy on the pumice, as you can see, but it definitely has some good soil. Plenty of space for them to grow. Well, this is just not working. I'm just going to take that out and hope that this is good. Alrighty. Let's see. I am going to put this largest one over to the side here. Kind of tuck him in a little bit. And I'll add more potting medium as I need to. I'm not talking much about these plants like I usually do. More focused on the potting right now. But Greenovia, like I said, are from the Aeonium family. You can see from their kind of habit that they look very similar to some low-growing Aeoniums. And I'm just going to kind of set these around. I'm trying to get an idea of where I want who and where they will all have room to open, but well, you actually get to see me have a process. I didn't think all of this through to start with. I just was going to repot and thought, oh, I should do a video. And so got a little bit of my thinking stage still going on here. All right, I think I'm okay with that arrangement. So I'm going to go ahead and get these guys in. As you can see on some of these, probably there's some white hard water markings, and that's pretty typical if you have hard water like we do. We have well water, which is really, really good. We had a really nice water softener for a while that didn't make everything too salty or anything. I forget how it worked or what it was, but it was wonderful. And then we had an electrical storm and major surging, and it fried the circuit board on the water softener, and so we haven't had that running since then. And so a lot of my plants have these little white markings on them now, which doesn't hurt them at all. And this poor leaf is the one that I broke off while repotting this guy when I heard the little snap. So I'm going to turn him just a little bit so that that broken leaf is pointing towards the inside. You can get the hard water off with a little bit of alcohol and a Q-tip usually, if you don't like to look at it. But it doesn't hurt them. Just a little bit unsightly. And another reason that you don't want to water from the top, especially with plants like this. which people say, well, but what about the rain? Isn't the rain from the top? And if it hurt them getting watered from the top, then wouldn't they die in nature? Well, first off, rainwater isn't hard water. And second off, it's usually pretty warm and evaporates quite quickly after touching the leaves. And yeah, most of us don't mimic those conditions, and so it's not that it's deathly harmful for a plant, you know, to be watered from the top. It's just that you do have some other things to think about that you don't with rain, or that you wouldn't need to think about with rain. How much you wanna risk? I'm looking for somebody with some superhuman gifts, some superhero, some fairy tale bliss. Yay! Getting there. All right, now I'm just gonna fill in a little bit, as much as I can without getting too much dirt in their lovely little rosettes. And these guys can get some pretty cool colorings and pink edges and stuff when they're getting really good light. We've had exceptionally cloudy weather, and so these guys are probably going to end up going under a grow light now that they are potted all together again. They were drying out so quickly in those little pots that I knew there was absolutely no way I could put them under the grow lights, because they would just not be happy with that. But in a bigger pot like this, they can stay wet and happy a lot longer, which they don't need to stay really wet, but they just need to be watered. So after I pot up like this, I usually go over to the sink, and I won't do that just for the time's sake, because this has already been really long without me saying a whole lot. But I usually will wash off any dirt just with a sprayer or a squirt bottle like this. Getting really down in there. You can see it kind of squirting up like that, which is why I usually like to do it in the sink. And a lot of times I blow as well to get things out, and yes, I make a mess, and yes, it goes everywhere, and I get my face full of water. And it's still worth it to me to have their leaves all looking pretty. And then I would after I water like this, if you water from the top, this will cup here, and it will cause rot and all kinds of stuff. But you want to get them looking clean. So I blow and get as much out as I can, which that just got this whole puddle out. And then I will put a little fan on them and just dry them out really quick, so that they're not sitting with any water in them. And then after I clean them out, obviously watering them from the top or spraying them isn't something that I do very much, but it is helpful for getting the little dirt pieces out a lot of times. You can also use air, like a can of, I don't know, do they call it condensed air? I'm just spacing out on what they call it, but it's like if you don't have an air compressor or something, you can just, I think it is compressed air. And you just buy a little can, it looks kind of like WD-40, and it'll just air out of a little tube like WD-40, and that can just be just enough of a to get your dirt out and keep things looking all nice and clean, which is a good thing to keep in mind if you do a lot of repotting, especially for people that do arrangements and sell them. Having a little can of the air can be extremely helpful for having everything look pretty and not having to get water on it. And with the powder coated leaves like these ones, having the water droplets on can sometimes, you know, smudge or whatever. And if you're doing an arrangement, you don't really want that. So yeah, so check that out. That's it for today. This was a much quieter video than normal as I was focusing, but we will get back to other videos that are more full of information later. This was just a bit of a slower project, but I wanted to show you guys anyways. I hope you are having a fantastic day, and until next time, happy growing.